Today, I'm behind the wheel of a 2022 Lexus NX 450h Plus F Sport. Yeah, it's a mouthful, but this is the very first plug-in hybrid that's available for the Lexus NX, which has been redesigned for this year, which means the outside looks different, inside vastly improved. There's a lot more technology and safety features, and there's a whole bunch of powertrain options you could choose from, including this plug-in hybrid that I'm driving today. So in this video, I'm going to tell you everything there is to know about this brand new NX and also go for a drive and see how it is on the road so you can decide if this is the right SUV for you. All right, let's get started. All right, I'm on the road. Let's see how good this brand new NX is, and let me tell you more about it. First of all, this brand new NX definitely looks a whole lot better. The old one didn't look bad, but this new one is definitely more streamlined with the rest of the lineup. It still has that huge V-motion grille up front. The F Sport does add some cosmetic stuff to make it look even more aggressive. But the back end, really different. It has a different vibe. It's circular, and those LED taillights that spread from one side to the other looks really cool. And the Lexus badge is now in the middle, so the NX kind of started that trend. But overall, I think the outside looks much better than the previous generation, and that, of course, is a good thing. Now, as for the size, the NX didn't really get a whole lot bigger. The wheelbase and overall length did go up by about an inch, which does help a little bit on the inside, just slightly, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But in terms of height and width, it actually shrunk a little bit. So the NX is not a whole lot bigger. And overall, this is based on the same platform as the Toyota RAV4. So this is a compact SUV in the luxury segment. Now this one is the F Sport, which adds on some cosmetic stuff I mentioned. So for example, on the outside, the grille is completely black. It's huge and black, very aggressive, right? Also matched with that are the large black 20-inch alloy wheels. Really stunning. And you have mirrors that are blacked out, the window trims, and the roof rail also blacked out. And it gives this NX a really aggressive look, and I do like that. And it's not just the outside either. On the inside also, you may have noticed these seats. They're contrasting seats, white and dark gray black. It's really eye-popping, and it does really change up the interior of this NX. There's an F Sport steering wheel, F Sport door sills, and the aluminum pedals, right? You add all those things together, does give this F Sport a different vibe, a much sportier vibe, for those of you guys that are looking for that. Now, because this NX is in the compact segment, and some would argue this is a subcompact segment, it is a little bit on the smaller side. So if you are a tall 6-foot+ individual, you may have a hard time fitting in the rear because the second row leg room is still kind of lacking. I am 5'10", and behind my driving position, you can see I have only about an inch of leg room. So an inch. So leg room isn't the greatest inside this brand new NX. But headroom, I still have about 4 to 5 inches, and that's okay. But overall, you know, not a whole lot of leg room in the second row. Up front, though, much better, much roomier. You can see I have plenty of headroom, shoulder room, hip room, greatly improved. So if you are on the larger side, I think up front, you're not going to have a problem. In the rear, you probably feel uncomfortable. As for cargo room, it's about right for this class. Of course, this is a Lexus, so you do have a power tailgate that opens up very conveniently. This NX does have a privacy cover that's unfortunately just hung from the top. Feels a little flimsy, but it is very easy to remove. Underneath, you don't have any hidden storage because it's reserved for the battery and for your charging cables, because this is a plug-in hybrid, so you don't have a whole lot of hidden storage. But overall, cargo room isn't bad. And of course, you can flip down the second row seats to generate more. So the powertrain is a 2.5-liter turbocharged i4 paired with a couple hybrid engines. Overall output is 302 horsepower, which is pretty good. but it has the instant torque of an EV car, which means when you do floor it, and at times you will definitely feel that torque kick in really quick. 0 to 60 in this comes in around 5.5 seconds. 5.5, that's not too shabby. And let's not forget about the fuel economy. So you can ride up to 37 miles in EV mode, which means you're not using any gas, right? But overall, you're getting about 86 mpge. So with gas and electric combined, it's the highest you can get in an NX right now. It's the highest for an NX ever. Now, as for charging time, it really depends on if you're going to use 110 or 220. If you're using 110, expect a whole night to charge. But if you're using a 220 outlet, it's going to be cut down to anywhere from 3 to 4 hours, which is much quicker. Now, the good thing about this plug-in hybrid is, even though you can run on EV, you can also use gas, which means range anxiety doesn't really exist. With pure EV cars, you do have to worry about, what should I do if I'm out of power, right? Out of charge. Well, with this, you can always just pump some gas and away you go. So if you think about it, it's kind of the best of both worlds. While you're driving EV mode, it does feel like an electric car. The throttle is instant and it has a really good linear feel. And I love that about EV cars, and you get that with this brand new NX as well. And when you put your foot down, you just get that instant thrust, instant acceleration. I'll test out 0 to 60 if I can in a little bit, but I have tested RAV4 Prime, and it felt pretty good. The quietness, yes, it's very quiet. This NX is very, very well insulated. Today is actually a pretty windy day. Very windy outside. Inside this NX, I don't hear anything. It's a very muted, very quiet drive, and that's how Lexuses are. But besides the quietness, this NX feels pretty good on the road. The suspension is quite good. With the F Sports, I did mention about cosmetic stuff, but you also do get adaptive dampers, which adjust to the road. And right now, it's pretty comfortable. I do remember the F Sport. I did test out F Sport from the last generation. I did feel a lot more bumps, and the ride wasn't as smooth. This one is definitely tweaked to have more comfort with normal driving. And something else I didn't mention yet are these seats. I did mention how they look very cool, but in terms of the comfort level, improved substantially over the last S Sport. In my previous reviews of S Sports, I would always say, hey, if you want comfort, do not get an F Sport. Now, my mind has changed because these seats are actually really good. Back bolsters, it's just right. It's aggressive, but not too aggressive, holding me, and very comfortable. I got comfortable very fast without needing to adjust it 100 different ways. Bottom one greatly improved, so seat comfort also improved vastly, along with the suspension. So overall, this is a very, very nice ride. Now, just like the outside, the inside has been completely redesigned. The dash, center console, completely redesigned for the better. It looks a lot more modern and in line with the others in this class. With the infotainment screen, you now have two options. You have a standard 9-inch, which is already big, but this one is huge, 14-inch screen. And the biggest change to this infotainment screen is not the size, but the software. The software now powering this, it has been modernized. It's just a lot better, smoother, and it makes more sense. The voice control actually works. Everything is on point, very fast, responsive. So the interface itself, I think, is the biggest improvement. Of course, when you have a large 14-inch screen like this, also very nice. But you do have to get used to all the buttons. There's a lot of buttons, trying to find the climate control and adapts and everything that's on here. It's going to take you some time. But this NX is, of course, equipped with all the amenities like heated steering wheel, ventilated seats, heated seats. You have a couple knobs for the climate control, which has a cool design in the back. Unfortunately, it doesn't turn blue or red like I thought it would. It's just kind of like stuck in one color. So I thought, yeah, it's a little gimmicky. Now, besides this large screen, you do have a digital gauge cluster, which tells you everything. Now, because this is a hybrid and a plug-in hybrid, There's more gauges that tell you your battery life, your charge, how much range you have, whether or not you're in eco mode, you know, all that good stuff. But what's different about this is normally you can, you know, change your screens inside the gauge cluster, right? But there's no button for that on the steering wheel. All the buttons on the steering wheel actually changes the menu on the heads-up display. There's a 10-inch optional heads-up display, which this one is equipped with. And the buttons on the steering wheel correlate with the heads-up display. So there's a whole bunch of arrows on the left side and right side, and you can configure everything, right? But when I'm pressing the buttons, they're all on the heads-up display. None of them change anything in the gauge cluster, which is a very different setup. Now, for some of you, I think you'll enjoy it because the heads-up display is very big, and it does have a whole bunch of features, looks nice. But for some of you guys, I know you like to turn off the heads-up display because it just bothers you. And if you do that, well, then all the buttons on the steering wheel, you know, they kind of don't serve their purpose anymore. So it's a little weird in that perspective. But you do have a nice, large heads-up display, and it is very useful and better than the last generation. The steering wheel still looks familiar. This F Sport does come with paddle shifters, which is nice. But the steering wheel overall, a similar shape, and the leather does feel good. It doesn't feel like those cheap leather. It actually feels like real leather, right? The one that feels luxurious, not like synthetic leather. So I do enjoy the steering wheel, and the overall steering feel is also pretty nice. So the steering feel is I would say I'm more on the sporty side. The precision is pretty nice. Not a whole lot of steering play. And you have a nice firmness to it. And you do feel like you're more in control. But keep in mind, this 450h Plus is not, you know, a hot rod, right? And when you compare it to German counterparts, they do still feel better around the corners. And some do feel like you're more in control. This isn't up to that level of precision, but it's a big improvement over the last generation. This NX picks up like almost like a EV car because we are in EV mode. But after 30, it kind of slows down. So it's very good for when you want to pass, like instant passing, right? You want that instant thrust, you go get it. But if you're trying to drag race with this, yeah, unfortunately, you know, it's not meant for that. Other things you get inside this NX, well, this one comes with a digital rearview mirror, which is kind of convenient. When there's tall people in the back blocking your view, well, this will solve that problem. Also, you do have a wireless charger up front. You have plenty of USB ports. There's 2 up front and 2 for the rear passengers. So those are nice things. You do have a sunroof. Unfortunately, this is just a normal one, not a panoramic one. You do have HomeLink buttons. There's 3 memory seat options. So that's a plus. Power folding mirrors. And with the new NX, you get the new Lexus Safety System 3.0 Plus, which basically includes everything. And also, it does slightly brake and maneuver your NX for pedestrians as well, in case you're turning and they happen to be in a blind spot, along with the other safety features such as your adaptive cruise control, emergency braking and warning, cross traffic alert, your lane keep systems, you know, along with all those things. So you don't have to worry about paying more, and it makes this NX even safer. As for braking, I'm pleasantly surprised. The brake pedal feels normal. With a lot of plug-in hybrids or EVs in general, the pedal feels a little bit different, and you also feel more regenerative braking, especially when you let off the gas. In this one, more or less, it just feels like a normal NX. It feels like a normal car, so you don't really feel it. So I think Lexus did a really good job kind of blending things in right now. However, I am in EV mode, and there is a dedicated button here. So you could change it. So if you want EV mode only, it will do that. If you wanted to just gas mode only, you could do that, right? So there's certain buttons that allow you to shift between the two. However, for most of you guys, I would guess that your commute, your daily commute to work and back is probably under that 37 miles, right? And if so, then you're going to be driving EV mode only and you never have to use any gas and you don't have to worry about it. Now, normally during my drive, I could talk about the trim levels, the pricing, and the powertrain options, but there's just too many with this brand new NX. There's 6 different trim levels and 4 different powertrain options, and the prices are different with each individual one, and it's vastly different from the base trim versus the top trim level, which is this one. So I have to read off my notes. So starting with the trim levels, the base is the NX 250, and that one starts right around $39,000, which is actually on the lower end for a luxury compact SUV like this. Now with that NX 250, you get a natural aspirated 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, which is producing about 203 horsepower. So for this class, a little bit underpowered. Now with the 350h, obviously the H stands for hybrid. So you're getting that same 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine, but you're getting a hybrid motor attached to it, which ups the power to about 239, which means you get more power and you get better fuel economy, but of course the price goes up. Okay, but now, next up, then you have the NX 350, which is the 9 hybrid, and a 350 F Sport. Okay, so the price goes up significantly with the 350 F Sport. So I mentioned about the 350h, starts around 42,000. The NX 350 is a little bit more, 42,600. And then the NX 350 S Sport, that's around 48,000. So you can see there's a big jump there. With either the NX 350 and an NX 350 F Sport, bear with me here, you're getting a 2.4 liter turbocharged engine, and it's producing 275 horsepower. So even more horsepower, but the fuel economy goes down. So next up is the 450s, and both of these are plug-in hybrids, which is why they have the plus. So it's an NX 450h Plus and the Plus F Sport, okay? Now, the Plus jumps up to be about 56,700, and this one, the F Sport, is about 58,000. So you can see between the base, the NX 250, which started around 39,000, to this, which is the 450h Plus F Sport, there's a huge gap, almost a 20,000 gap between the base trim and the upper trim. To conclude, let me give you my final thoughts about this brand new NX 450h Plus F Sport. First of all, I think Lexus could do a better job with the name. It's just too long, too complicated. Most people won't be able to get it, so I think they need to just come out with something. Call it an NX Prime or something like that, kind of like what they do with the RAV4, and be done with it. I mean, the naming is just really, really confusing. But with that out of the way, I think this upgrade is substantial. The outside, the exterior definitely has a better presence. Definitely looks more upscale, more modern, more luxurious, so that's a good thing. And same with the inside. Oof, a huge, huge upgrade. That feels bigger too. It does definitely feel bigger, even though the dimensions is virtually the same. I think the way Lexus redesigned things just is better. It feels bigger, more luxurious. The fit and finish, the quality, the new infotainment screen, the new technology, everything has been upgraded. So inside also very good. I like the plug-in hybrid. I like this powertrain. It's a good combination, and you don't have to worry about range anxiety. And it's very smooth, very powerful, plenty of torque when you need it. So I really do like it. And when you combine that with the luxuriness of NX, the quietness and everything else, I think this is a very good luxury SUV, right? Because Lexus does have a smaller XUV, the UX, which is a little bit cheaper, a little bit smaller, but it's hard to say which one competes with what. So if you're comparing this to the X3, well, then the X3 has its advantages because the X3 is bigger. It has powertrains that's even more powerful, right? And the price gap is vast. But if you're comparing to X1, then, the price is actually higher, but you're also getting a little bit more, and it's a little bit bigger. So, Lexus has all these SUVs that's kind of doesn't line up to the Germans. Because you have the UX, then you have the NX, and then of course you have the RX, and then you have the bigger ones, right? Like the GX and the LX, and Yeah, there's a whole lot of SUVs from Lexus. So it really depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking for that Lexus reliability, right, you can't go wrong with this. And I think the plug-in hybrid is a compelling choice, although it does pump up the price. This is nearing $60,000. So if you're looking for, let's say, a pure EV equivalent, that would be the Model Y, which I have reviewed before and I am in love with. The Model Y from Tesla is a phenomenal SUV, which is actually much bigger than this. And it's much quicker, much more range, right? And arguably better looking, depending on your taste, right? So you have to take that into account, whether or not you want to stick with a Lexus or go to a Tesla. There's a lot of different options these days. So I highly recommend that you use this video as a guide, go for a drive, test out all the cars yourself to determine if this is the right car for you. All right, guys, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for my future reviews.